Hi guys, what's going on? Welcome to my couch. My name is Alexandru Don. I'm a filmmaker from Romania, and today I want to do a side-by-side comparison between the Blackmagic Pocket 4K and the Zcam E2. So the main reason I want to test out those cameras is because those cameras have the same sensor size, meaning they have a 4x3 sensor size. And both of them have pretty similar specs, so I want to see which one I like the most and which one suits better with my style of shooting and what I usually do when I use a camera. So to begin with, we're going to take a look at their body size and build materials. And the body size of these cameras are pretty different, considering the fact that those cameras are pretty similar when it comes to specs. And this is really interesting to see because honestly, I like more the form factor of the Zcam because it allows you to mount it on gimbals, and it's honestly way more versatile than this size because the pocket is so wide that it's really hard to put it on a gimbal or on different types of setups. But the thing with it that it has a monitor, and with the Zcam you only have a really small monitor on the top. So in order to use this camera, you really need an external monitor. And with the Pocket, you already have a monitor on it, but the only downside with this monitor is that once you get outside, you're not gonna see anything on it because it's not so bright. So either way, you're still gonna need an external monitor. And as you can see right now on my Blackmagic Pocket, I already have a cage on it. It's from Tilta. And the main reason I put a cage on this camera is because it doesn't have that much mounting points. You have one on the top and you have one on the bottom. And when you want to shoot with the camera, you need more versatility and you need more mounts. And one of the main things with the Pocket that I don't really like is its build quality. It feels cheap. When with the Zcam, when you put your hands onto it, it feels super rugged and it's built like a tank. I really feel like I can throw this camera on the ground and it can survive. And one of the things that I really love about the Zcam is the fact that they have a lot of mounting holes. So you can mount a lot of accessories on this camera even though you don't have a cage on it. Of course, I really recommend a cage for this camera because otherwise it will be very hard to shoot with it because it has such a small form factor. So we're gonna go next to image quality and see which camera has a better image quality and why. And to make those cameras work at their highest potential, I'm gonna use a speed booster with a Sigma 18-35, which will give me amazing results and will make those cameras really feel as a Super 35 camera sensor. And because of the focal reducer, I'm gonna also have a much better low light and a wider field of view, which will make those cameras really shine. And I think with the speed booster, you're really unlocking those cameras' highest potential. Okay, so obviously this is not working because both of the cameras have really good image when it comes to 4K 25 FPS. So to do things a little bit different, I want to do a dynamic range test and put those cameras to their highest potential. But to make this test fair, I'm also gonna go inside the DaVinci Resolve and I'm gonna bring down the highlights as much as I can to see which camera has more information than the other one. Of course, with one of the cameras, I'm gonna record RAW, and with the other one, I'm gonna record ProRes. So let's do the test and see which one is better. Here I try to do a correct exposure on the clouds, and as you can see, it looks pretty good. I had an ND filter that had weird reflection on, but so far the image looks pretty good. And on the next shot, I try to overexpose a little bit to see how much I can recover from the sky. And man, oh man, I was impressed on how good I could recover the B-raw footage from the Blackmagic Pocket 4K. And now for my favorite part of this review, the slow motion test, which is gonna be really interesting because we're gonna film some food in slow motion with a little bit of water and things like that, and it should be pretty interesting. But the thing that excites me the most is that those cameras are pretty different when it comes to slow motion, and I really want to see which one does it better. And one thing that you should know before we start this test is that the Blackmagic Pocket 4K now has the ability to shoot 4K 75 FPS. The only problem would be that those 75 FPS can be only obtained if we crop down the image. The same applies to the Z-Cam also, but the Z-Cam can film 120 FPS open gate in 4K, which is really crazy. And if we do the same thing with the crop mode, it can go 4K 160 FPS, which is crazy, and I'm really curious to see how it's gonna do it. And this is probably one of the things that excites me the most at Z-Cam, because it has this ability to shoot a lot of frames in 4K. But if we go down a little bit when it comes to resolution, those two cameras can film even higher FPS. Unfortunately for the Pocket 4K, if we stop down at 2K, it can film 120 FPS, but it's gonna be cropped. But the Z-Cam in 1080 can go up to 280 frames per second. So I'm really curious how this is gonna look and if the quality will be good enough. So let's test it out and see which camera does it better in slow motion. Alright, so the slow motion test came out pretty good, and we obviously have a winner. We can clearly see the Z-Cam looks much better in slow motion, and we can do a lot more with those frame rates, and everything looks more delicious when you have more frame rates. And I think this is one of the best selling point of this camera, the high slow motion capabilities in 4K. And this is also one of the things that really attracts me to this camera. Having so many slow motion in 4K is like a dream. I always wanted to have that, especially now that everything is shot in 4K. Every Netflix show, every production, everything is going to 4K. So it's really good to have a camera that can do slow motion in 4K. Since we have a clear winner at the slow motion test, I think it's time to go to the next challenge. And this one will be testing the codec. And when we talk about codec, everyone's dream is to have raw recording. But is it raw necessary? Like, do we really need raw? So to test this out, I'm gonna shoot with the Z-Cam in ProRes 422 HQ, and I'm gonna shoot with the Blackmagic Pocket 4K in B-RAW. What we're gonna do to see if the ProRes can stand up to the RAW system, we're gonna try to change the white balance of a scene. We're gonna try to change the color in the scene and see how the codec performs. And we're gonna try to apply some LUTs and see which image is gonna get ruined faster. So a lot of people want to try RAW because RAW it's very easy to manipulate in post-production, but as you can see, the ProRes is as easy as a RAW file. So in this test, I don't think there is much difference between the B-RAW and the ProRes files. And if you expose correctly, you will get probably the same results as shooting RAW or ProRes. Having a Micro Four Thirds mount is not that bad, especially when you have lenses like this, the Vazen Anamorphic. And this is a 1.8 anamorphic lens for Micro Four Thirds sensor. And the cool thing about the Micro Four Thirds sensor is that it allows you to shoot anamorphic. And both of these cameras have anamorphic function. So we're gonna test this out with a bunch of shots in the house and see which camera does anamorphic better. test went out pretty well, and the winner here is obviously Z-Cam, because you can shoot 4K 4x3 with it, when with the Blackmagic Pocket 4K you can only shoot 2K 4x3 mode, and when you shoot 2K 4x3 mode with the Pocket, then you're gonna have a crop on the sensor. And since anamorphic lenses are not as sharp as spherical lenses, you're not gonna have a sharp result as shooting 4K. Of course, you can shoot 4K with a Blackmagic Pocket 4K, but then you're gonna have a way too cropped image and it's not gonna look as good as on the Z-Cam. So obviously the winner here is Z-Cam, so if you wanna shoot anamorphic, I will go with the Z-Cam. But we obviously tend to shoot a lot handheld. And whenever we shoot handheld, we need cameras that have a really fast readout on the sensor that allows us to not have shaky footage. And we're gonna see which camera has a faster readout sensor and offers us a better handheld image. And I know it sounds weird, what do you wanna say about handheld image? Well, I wanna say about the handheld image is whenever you shoot with a camera and doesn't have those jittery, ugly movements that you see on your footage. So usually when I shoot with the FX9 or FS7, I can run with the camera, I can do a lot of stuff, and the image still looks stable. And with the Blackmagic Pocket 4K in the past, even if the camera was really heavy and trying to shoot handheld, that went pretty bad. So to see if the Z-Cam is better, we're gonna do a side-by-side comparison where I try to shoot a handheld shot and see which one is much stable. Of course, the rig and the payload of the camera will be an important role in this test, but I'm gonna try to build both of the cameras to have pretty much the same weight in order for this test to be as fair as possible. Since those small cameras are not as steady as we want, we definitely need to put them on a gimbal, right? Well, for those who have the Pocket 4K, you definitely know how hard it is to put the camera on the Ronin S. And this is a major problem that I had with the Pocket 4K, because when I bought the Pocket 4K, I was using the Ursa Mini 4.6K. And I said, I'm gonna buy this camera to be placed on a gimbal. Well, I had a surprise because the Pocket 4K was really hard to put on a Ronin S. And on this test, I'm gonna time myself on how fast I can put the Pocket versus the Z-Cam on the same gimbal. Balancing the Z-Cam was pretty easy. I didn't have any issues, all went really fine. But when it came to the Blackmagic Pocket 4K, it was such a big struggle and I couldn't manage to balance it with the Sigma 18-35. Of course, with other lenses it's possible, but if you saw on my Instagram, I can balance this setup but only with counter rates. So here I wanted to show you that it's not possible to balance it without counter rates. We live in a time where the low light performance of a camera is really important. And because of that, a lot of camera manufacturers have dual native ISOs on their sensor. And in our case, on the Blackmagic Pocket 4K, we have a base ISO of 500 and 3200. And on the Z-Cam, we have a base ISO of 500 and 2050. And honestly, I'm really curious which camera will have a better low light performance, and because of that, we're here on the balcony and we're gonna test it out and we're gonna crank up the ISO to the max. Alright guys, so I really hope you like this video, and even though we could have talked way much longer about those cameras because they have even more functions and cool things that we could have explored about them, but my main concern when talking about a camera is how you can use it, how the image looks and how good the quality of the image is, and how I can post-process the footage that comes out of the camera. And if I have to choose a winner based on the test we have done, I would probably go with the Z-Cam, and mostly because it's way more practical to use. The battery life holds a lot. You can use professional batteries for it, not Canon LP batteries that hold you only 30 minutes. You can really use this camera as a professional, and I really think that even though the Pocket has RAW recording and, as you saw, it has impressive highlight recovery and all that, I really think that the Z-Cam offers more when it comes to professional usage than the Blackmagic. I feel like the Blackmagic, it's more like a consumer camera rather than a professional camera. And with all this in mind, when I go to set, I really want a reliable camera. And in the past, I had a lot of issues with Blackmagic Pocket 4K battery life, and it sucks. And even if you use cables with output battery power and all that, it's still not ideal. And if we talk about pricing, the Z-Cam is almost double the price as the Blackmagic Pocket 4K, but you get 4K 160 FPS. And with all this, it's probably worth it. I don't know what to say more about this whole topic and all that, but this is my conclusion, and you be the judge on what camera suits you better, and hopefully this test will help you out decide which camera is best for you. And with all this being said, thanks a lot for watching and staying until the end. Don't forget to subscribe to this channel because I'm about to drop more videos, and give a like and a comment and all that. And thank you so much for being here, and until next time, peace.